Today's video is brought to you by Squarespace. Ever since I started working with film again, the Fuji Frontier SP3000 has been my absolute favorite scanner. I love the way that it handles color and contrast and the look of the final scans. And back when I was getting lab scans done, it was always my first choice. And it's also always been a dream of mine to own one of these. And over the last while, I started to think about that a little bit more serious for some upcoming plans that I'm hoping to make happen in 2025. So I was keeping an eye out, and this one popped up quite local to me, being sold by a technician who actually services these and sets them up in this kind of standalone configuration. So decided to go for it. They dragged it up a couple flights of stairs here into my office where it's gonna live until I get a bigger studio space, hopefully in the near future. So it's here now. You can obviously hear it running. It's not the quietest thing, but I've been using this for the past month, just going into the archives, scanning a ton of film, running tests, learning how to best use this, and just having a ton of fun and loving the results. So I was actually gonna scan some film today, and I figured I would make this video just to show you the Frontier, show you how it operates, what it's like to work with. We'll scan a bunch of film, we'll convert it all, and I'll just talk about what I love so much about this over 20-year-old commercial film scanner. So for me, what makes it so unique is just the way that it deals with color negative film and the final look of the images from this, specifically when it comes to color, contrast, and skin tones as well. You know, in comparison with its competitor, the Noritsu, I would say this has more of a look, more of like a classic film look to it, and also more contrasty. And what I love is that the Frontier absolutely nails the conversion process, you know, regardless of the brand or if the film's expired or how it's exposed. If you do need to go in and make adjustments, it's so simple and effective to do it. You have this built-in keyboard here, and you have plus minus for density, and then you have color control. So plus minus yellow, magenta, and cyan. And what's really cool is that the Frontier uses an individual RGB light. So when you are adjusting the colors, it's working very similar to how a color enlarger would work for darkroom printing. But beyond the hardware, there's also some sort of magic going on with the software. In this thing, Fuji has what's called their image intelligence, but obviously back in the day, in the early 2000s, you know, this was built for commercial lab use, and often the main output was to a printer. So you would scan a full roll of film and someone would get 24 or 36 prints. So it makes sense that they would want to tune this thing to be able to, you know, get the best results possible, kind of in an automated fashion. So I'm sure there was a huge team of people working on whatever image processing science went into this, but they absolutely nailed it. And you realize that very quickly once you start using this. So I'll give you a quick rundown of how this works, and then we'll actually go and scan some film. But like I said, I bought this off a technician here, and that was so beneficial just because once these are up and running, they're fairly straightforward and simple to use. But getting one in this standalone configuration, getting to this point can be like a little bit confusing, and you have to really dig and hunt for information, and it takes some time. Totally doable, but it was easy, obviously, just to buy it ready to go. So you have the main scanner here built into this workstation, and then underneath you have a PC running Windows 2000 with the monitor here, and this runs the software for the scanner, and this is where you do all your adjustments and you see your scans. But then once you're done all your scans, you actually have to hit order here. You have to submit an order, and it sends all of the scans to a second computer, which is right here, a Dell server, which has another monitor over there, and this is running separate Fuji software, and they're connected via Ethernet. So all of the TIFF files go there, and then you export them from there onto a hard drive. So 2 computers, 2 monitors to get your scans done and exported. The scanner itself is actually similar to camera scanning in a way. You have a CCD sensor in here with a lens, and the sensor actually shifts, I think, 8 times to increase the resolution. And then it can do 120 and 35, but you have different carriers. So right now in here is a 120 carrier, and to do 35, I have this 35 auto carrier, which you can load a full roll of 36 in, and it'll pre-scan them all in seconds, and you can go and do your edits. So this is really nice. But right now, like I said, the 120 is in here. This actually just slides out, and then you have different mask inserts that go in here. The Fuji ones are really hard to find for medium format, and luckily there's a company making this multi-mask system, which you just pop open, put in different masks. I have a 6x7 right now, and these actually increase the scan area so you can get borders on 120, and I have the same masks in the 35 carrier for borders on 35. So really nice that people are making this kind of stuff, and it's accessible. So really straightforward to use. We will scan some film now and I'll show you how it works, starting with some 120, and then I have a whole bunch of 120 and 35 that I pulled from the archives here, a lot of it from the American West, that I'm really curious to see how it looks with this. Before we do that though, just very quickly have to talk about the sponsor today, which is Squarespace. So I've personally been using Squarespace for a number of years now, and I think for photographers, they have a ton of helpful tools like easy to customize galleries or an online store where you can sell prints, books, and things like that. But what I love is that they constantly keep adding features and improvements. Most recent is their Blueprint Builder, which allows you to easily build your website from scratch, and it gives you things like font pairings, color palettes, and just a wide range of customizable design options. And it also gives you complete control, so you can drag and drop items, change the size, choose different layouts for sections, which basically allows you to build a professional looking website even if you have no prior experience. So check out squarespace.com today, sign up for a free trial, test it out, and when you're ready to launch, you can use my link below to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or a domain. Okay, so we'll go ahead and scan some film now, and I'll run you through the entire process just with one frame off of here, and then we'll rip through a bunch of this. But we'll start with this. This is some Fuji Pro 160 NS. This is a roll I shot through the Pentax 6.7 with my buddy Bob. This classic car, went out for a ride. So the 120 carrier, really nice. It's on these hinges here, or this track, so it slides out. And then you have this light table, which lines up perfectly. So open this up, lift the mask, and it helps you kind of line things up and see what you're looking at. We'll close that, and then we'll go ahead and we'll slide this back in, and it's going to pop up here on the screen. So this is basically like a black and white live view setting, so you can line up your frame as you push it through the holder here. So I'll hit OK, and this will just do a conversion right away. We'll flip this, and that doesn't look bad considering this is expired film. But what I would do first is just adjust the density. So I'd brighten this up, and you can see you can take this wherever you want. So you can really play with the brightness of an image. For this one, I'd probably go something like that. And then I would maybe warm it up a bit with some yellow. Maybe not that much. Might even go a bit brighter. And maybe just take a little magenta out. I know that this Fujifilm does lean magenta sometimes, but even something just like that looks good. And then you can adjust the tones here. They have all these different settings, all soft, standard, highlight soft, a bunch of things you can pick from, and this hypertone, which basically will do in some situations like localized adjustments of highlights and shadow areas. I'll either turn this off and go standard or highlight soft, or just leave it on and standard. You just gotta be careful because it can get funky with certain films and certain contrast levels. But for this, I'll just do standard and hypertone. And that's basically it. So I'm gonna go and hit enter. It'll scan this, store it in its memory. I can go and scan the rest if I want, and I can submit the order at the end. Okay, we'll look at one more roll here, and then I'm just gonna scan through a whole bunch of these and we can check them out. But this is Kodak Gold 200. This is Mamiya 7. With the 50 mil, I think this is up in Wales. And I've been a big fan of how gold looks, especially with this scanner. It does take a little bit more adjustments, but. So right away I would want to, drop the brightness quite a bit, add density to this because this was kind of an overcast day. And I would pull a bunch of the yellow out, so I'll add blue and probably pull some magenta out, so add green. Maybe something like that. And I would probably just leave the tones as is. It's tough to gauge on this monitor sometimes because obviously the resolution's quite low, but even still I know this is gonna have information in the final scan, but I could go and turn hypertone off and go highlight soft and it'll drop it down a bit. Maybe we'll do that just for this one. Something like that. Okay, so we'll jump into a bunch of other film now and see how this stuff looks. I have a collection of old work here. This is Portra 160, possibly the first roll of 120 I shot when I moved to England. And this is cut quite short because I was using a Nikon Coolscan at the time, so we are gonna lose a bit of the edge of the frame, but this is a nice kind of stormy rainbow scene. We'll see how this looks. I would drop this way down to bring out that rainbow and probably just add a bunch of blue minus yellow. Even something like that, maybe a little bit of magenta. Done. Got some Portra 400 here. This is a portrait. We'll see how this looks. This is one of my favorite images. Pentax 6.7. 105 2.4. See, that right off the bat, it usually does really good with Portra. I might brighten that a bit and just even add a point of yellow, but yeah, pretty happy with how that looks as it is. The skin is great. Okay, next up, Portra 400. This is California. I gotta say too, the dust control in this system works so incredibly well. So again, Portra 400 looks great as is. I would probably just leave this, to be honest, and do the minor tweaks on my nice monitor afterwards. So yeah, that's what we'll do. Something a little different for this one. This is a fun night scene. Portra 400 again. This is in Florida, I think, from back in 2018. And this would have been Pentax 6.7 again. And that's not bad. I would probably pull some yellow out, add a bit of magenta, maybe a bit of red. Density I think I'll leave. I'm happy with that. Okay, this is Portra 400, California. This is kind of like a sunset twilight scene, which I have found this works really well with. You typically do have to make some adjustments, but it can do a great job just finding a nice color balance with it. So for sure, we're gonna add density, drop this down. Might even add some red, add some magenta, maybe not that much. And pull a bit of the yellow out. Might have to tweak this one after, but even something like that looks good to me. Okay, and then one more here, and maybe we'll move on to the 35. This is Portra 400. This is, I think, in California back in 2019. RB 6.7. And that's not bad. I would maybe brighten it up a bit just to get it nice and bright, take out some of the yellow. Add a bit of cyan, something like that. That looks pretty good to me. Okay, so for 35, we're gonna put in the auto carrier, and we'll get rid of this one. And we also need to swap out, there's these diffusion boxes. So this is for 120. For 35, I'm gonna need to go and put this one in. Go this way. And then grab this auto 35 carrier, and we'll put this in, and it's probably gonna have to do a calibration here. Okay, so 35 is ready to go, and I think we're gonna start with some Fuji C200, Color 200, back when it was actually made by Fuji. This was one of my favorite films, and I'm curious how this is gonna look on the Frontier. Fuji film, Fuji scanner. So we got our strip, so we just take this and we would put it to the carrier. It's gonna automatically feed it in, and it's gonna do a pre-scan of those 6 frames. If we had a roll of 36, it would do all of them at once, very quick, and then we can go and edit. I'm gonna pass on some of these because I don't wanna edit them all. This one I will edit, and this actually looks very nice. This is actually gonna make me miss this film even more. I think I would leave that. It looks great, straight out of the box. Same with this one, I'm just adjusting the frame over a bit, but yeah, as is, that looks nice. Fuji, why did you have to stop making this film? Even this, you know, I'm tempted to adjust it a bit, but I'm pretty happy with how that looks. stick with that. Okay, this one could be fun. This is some Portra 400 from California back in 2019. Gonna pass on a bunch of these. This one I think we'll go with. So we'll rotate this, adjust it up a bit. And this one, this was sunset. This for sure I would pull a bunch of the red out, I think. Even some of the blue, and maybe add some magenta in. Just tweak it quite a bit. So even though you can't target like highlights or shadows or midtones, just these simple controls with that RGB light, you can really tweak the look of this and yeah, get something that I'm quite happy with. Okay, Portra 800 here. This is from Amboy, California back in 2019. It's gonna want us to line up our frame here a bit on the auto carrier. Hit OK. Fuji did make an auto 120 carrier, which is super rare, and I would love, absolutely love it. Okay, this is holding our settings from before, so I'll delete those. And we could do this one, brighten this one up a bit of warmth, even something like that. And maybe we'll do this one. Portra 800 is also a film that I don't shoot often enough, but that I do really like, so this doesn't need much. Something like that looks pretty good. Something a little different here for this one, Portra 400. This is some night stuff on 35, Williams, Arizona. Adjust this frame a bit. That's the one I'm after. And that looks pretty nice. Maybe pull a bit of yellow, add some blue, maybe add some green to help accentuate this neon, maybe add a bit of red too. Something like that. Okay, so we'll do two more and I think we'll call it. The first one is some Portra 400, and this is a sunrise scene at the Salton Sea Beach. And I feel like it's probably gonna need some adjustments. So this one right here, and for this, like I said, sunrise, so I would probably add some red to this, add a bunch of yellow, even more red, maybe some magenta, really just kind of accentuate the sunrise feel with this one. Maybe pull a bit of the red, a bit more yellow, a bit more magenta. Even something like that looks pretty good to me. I'm gonna leave for all of these this tone adjust on standard with hypertone. I think it should work just fine. Okay, and then last one, just because I'm curious, is actually some Cinestill 800T. This is a film that I've only ever shot once, this roll back in, 2018. So I'm very curious how this one will scan on the Frontier. That's interesting. It says, couldn't read the barcode on the film, continue processing. So obviously with the Kodaks and the Fuji films, it's able to tell what the film is, but not with this one. So this frame right here, one will edit a bit, so I would brighten this up a bit, add some yellow, maybe add some magenta. Something like that looks good to me. You know, this is actually making me want to shoot some cinema film, because this right now looks pretty nice. I'm curious to see what it's like on the big screen. So this, brighten it up a bit of yellow. Even that looks pretty good. Done. Okay, so bunch of 120, bunch of 35, and yeah, as you can see, it's just so nice to work with, and the results I absolutely love. And right now my goal is just, get as comfortable and used to this as possible and get as fast with it as possible. Hopefully for some things in the future, like I said, where I'm moving beyond just scanning my own work with this. So we'll see how things go, but that's it for this one. Hope you enjoyed kind of the behind the scenes look at SP3000, how these operate, what goes into it. And I think even if you're just getting your film scanned at a lab, it's always good to just, have a better understanding of, what's going on when you send your film there if they're using a machine like this. But that's it for this one. Hope you enjoyed it. And as always, thank you for watching. I'll talk to you soon.